tool I'm going to show you today is called docsstorybuilder.com, also known as Google Story Builder. And basically what it is a storytelling tool that you can use online. And basically it replicates basically a Google Doc and multiple people commenting within it to tell a story. And what's great is you can customize it for any activity that you want to use it for. So first of all, I'm just going to run through how to use the program. So you can go to docsstorybuilder.appspot.com, or you can simply Google Story Builder, Docs Story Builder, and it'll be the first result. So you come to the main page here, and you've got a Get Started button. You've also got a demonstration video that shows how it works. And once you get started, the first thing that you can do is add your characters. So this will be the names of the people who will be in your short. So for example, if you type in George, that will be one character option. Put in Johnny, that will be another one. Some other important things to know about this is that you can add up to 10 characters, no more than that. So you can't necessarily have maybe everybody from your classroom in the story. So you can have all 30 kids as a character in the story. But what I tend to do with it is put different groups in. So I'll actually maybe even name the characters Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, Group 4, have the groups name themselves in the story when we're doing it. Or maybe just have each group make a story with their 5 or 6 members in it. So a lot of different things you can do there. So I'm just going to put in a few different character names here. If I don't like a character name, I can always delete it too. You can see here I got this little minus button. If I click it again, it'll delete the character. Put Johnny back in there though. And they also get color coded over here. Once I've got all my characters in, I hit Write Story. And now each character, you can see here, pops up as a choice for who's going to start. So I can choose George to start. I can have George say something like, "Hello world." And we'll see that pop up. If I like what George has said, I can go to the next character button here, and it will default to the next character. I can choose any character though. I could skip down to Johnny and have that be the next person talking. And now what happens is I've got what was said previously. This is what appears on the Story Builder doc. And Carl here can go in and Carl can add to what George said, just like a Google Doc, or he could delete what he said. So if he doesn't like this, he could just say hello world. He could highlight this, delete it, and say hello Johnny. And now that will appear next. So you can both add to it, delete it, do whatever you want, and the story will actually update and reflect that change. So you can see here now we go to the next character. Johnny can say something. I'm going to say hello Carl and George. And you can continue on like this. So now George could come back, delete everything, and say something like stop. And we could continue on like this. So you can make this story continuously running with them adding, subtracting, elaborating in the document. It just looks like a Google Doc that's continually being advanced. So it's almost like you're filming a Google Doc where multiple people are interacting with the text. You can give it a name down at the bottom. You could say Three's Company for the title of this if we want it. It'll show up on the top of the doc. Some other things you can do, you can always edit the characters, add, subtract them like I mentioned before. Go back to that character list. You can also add music, which is really handy. You can give kind of a theme to your story. So here they've got these different ones. You could add a suspenseful music, country music. If it's a humorous topic, slapstick. I find that my students typically use this one a lot. Or you can just have it where it's no music. You can say finish up when you're done with the story. And what's really nice is it'll say, okay, what's your name? So say it's from Mr. Spike. And you can also get a shareable link. So it'll take a few seconds, but it'll give you kind of a shortened Google URL. And then that URL you can share out with anyone you want. So students could share that with their parent or guardians. You could have a running record of all your different classes and the stories they came up with. And that link is good for your story. So it'll pop up in just a little bit. While we're waiting for that link, what's really cool too is you can preview the video to see how it turned out. This is what it looks like in action. And it even zooms in too. If you're only changing a few things, it'll zoom out to how much it needs to show. You can see here George deletes everything and types that last sentence. So that's what the video looked like in action. And then it will zoom out and kind of show where everybody is at in the document. And so it's really nifty, really easy to use program, really simple. The kids really enjoy it because it's kind of fun. I said they can add their music, they can type wherever they want. They can delete others and add to what they said in their sentences, which is really cool. And like I said, it gives you just a really cool link that you can paste out. If this link will come up soon. And if you want some ideas to take it to the next level, or if you want kind of some more self-discovery ideas for this particular topic, there's a great video that somebody put out. AV put out this Doc Story Builder Ideas. If you look hers up, it's this is the code right up here. So docstorybuilder.appspot.com/bbcagn, BV and N are capitalized. So if you go to that URL and look this up, or if you just Google Doc Story Builder Ideas, it comes up. But this is a really great video that this person made. And once again, this is just a story builder they made with actual ideas in it. So if you fire this one up, if you fire up the story, here it is. This person actually made a story builder idea for what they could use tools for. So one idea they had that I thought was really cool, you can use it to have conversations between historical figures. You have two historical figures in a Google Doc. You just name your characters Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, and have your kids have a conversation about a topic they feel differently about, like slavery. Another good idea, demonstrate how to fix spelling and grammar mistakes. So show the mistake and then change it within the doc with your characters. You know, have one be the student, one be the teacher, and use it as a demonstration tool, which would be really cool. You can see here, you could make skits using this really easily too, which I think is a great idea. One idea that I actually used in the classroom, and it's one way that I used to, how I introduced the app, is I use this for vocabulary study. In the old days, I had stations for vocabulary. One of the stations, I just had a notepad of paper, and the students would have to create a story, just a running story. Each group would add a sentence to the story. And then I found out about this app, and I said, what a great way to make it more engaging and interactive and fun for the kids is instead of them having it just on this, this yellow sheet of notepad paper, what if they made it in Google Story Builder? So how I introduced the app is I showed just basically how to use it. So I went in and I showed them how I added in group 1, group 2, group 3, and I'd usually have 4 to 5 groups in my stations. And I'd set up this at a computer, and I'd start up the story, and each group would be responsible for adding dialogue to the story. So group 1 might come in and use our first vocabulary word, which maybe was solicitously. So they might say, Shirley was very acting solicitously toward the puppies at the bottom of the volcano. So she was acting with great care about the puppies at the bottom of the volcano. Now group 2 needs to use a new vocabulary word. So this group might want to use a word like, let's see, how about droll? So they might say, she made a very droll joke about how the puppies would become hot dogs if the volcano erupted. So now they've used a new vocabulary word. Now let's say group 3 wants to make a new sentence about this. They do not want to have this first sentence in here, so they're going to delete this first sentence. And they are going to add on to this one. They might say, let's see, Shirley worried about becoming the puppy's quarry. They might want to eat her. They might want to say something like that. And then maybe the next group comes back and wants to change something about that. So they might take out that last sentence, and they might say something like, or maybe they just want to take out a little, so Shirley, they want to keep Shirley. Shirley thought that hot dogs might be a nice amenity to have on the volcano. So they want to use the vocabulary word amenity, and they're going to add that in to theirs. That could totally work. So you can see how you can keep changing the story, adding to it, and then I'd have one of my groups choose a title, or maybe each group would propose a title. We'd vote on it, we'd add it. Music, this is a pretty silly story, so we'd probably add some slapstick music to it because it's, talking about Shirley and her crazy attitude about the puppies. And now we've got this really cool project that we're making here. You can see how it can evolve and what it looks like in action over on the left side here. So really cool way to use this application is for vocabulary. My students really enjoyed it. Other additional information that you might need to know about, I mentioned that you have a limit of 10 characters that you can add to your story. Some people wonder how much text that you can add in here. I've added a ton of text. I've copied in pages worth, but thinking about it, the video, it works best if you have very short text, so I would really try to keep your students to keep it to a few sentences for what they're doing. And if they're planning on using this tool for presenting some ideas, just make sure that they don't overload it with too much text. One cool thing, too, that you might want to know about, as an additional feature, is this little drop-down menu on their text. They can actually change the speed and the amount of pausing that happens. So if they have a lot of text, I tell my students to turn up the speed really far so that the text types in really fast. If you don't have very much, you could turn down the speed. But they can play with each section, each character, and what they say by changing the speed and the pausing level to get the desired effect they want. So they can play around with that and preview their story and see how it plays out. But I really like it that it gives you the opportunity to practice, proper grammar, spelling, vocabulary, cool ideas like the historical figures talking to each other. And then also music gets you talking about tone. What kind of tone did you set when you chose that music? If you had this very serious storyline, but you added humorous music, was that done with a specific purpose in mind, or what function did it serve? So that's important to know as well. Other than that, the big thing is just how can you share it? I mentioned the URL link. You also might have noticed too, you could share your story on Google+. So you could also, as a teacher, put out stories that you publish or students publish. And what I really like is it's a link. It lives forever. You can put that link anywhere. You could use that link to teach concepts. You could use that link as, hey, check this out, as studying for your vocabulary quiz or for infusing vocabulary in your next essay. So that's a little bit about how I would use the app. Important things to know, some areas for self-discovery with that video teaching how to use the app, and then, of course, to how you can use it in your classroom with vocabulary, historical figures. So hope this was helpful to you. I hope to hear some ideas about how you'll use Google Story Builder, or Doc Story Builder, as it's also called, in your classroom. And my first challenge to you would be to go out and try to make a sample one, maybe demonstrating a concept in your class, so you can show it to your kids and then have them try to make them themselves, or maybe in small groups, make it a station in your classroom. Thanks for watching.